everyone. Welcome. This is Amy Cooper from Rise, and we are interviewing exceptional women in insurance. And one of my favorite people, Ema Roloff, is joining me today. Thank you, Emma, for jumping on.
Thanks for having me. I love being called this exceptional, so I'll be here any day of the week if that's our route that we're gonna go down.
Well, definitely. And so why don't, for maybe like the two people that don't know you, could you explain like what you do, your role?
Yeah,
Uh,
you're too kind. Well, like you said, my name is Ema Roloff, and I'm the co-founder of Roloff Consulting. And our focus is really helping other leaders and companies position themselves as thought leaders and really start to tap into the value that comes through digital channels as a source of revenue. And then in addition to that, I also run a series called Leading Change, where I interview all sorts of different people in insurance and beyond on transformation and change management. And then just because I'm bored and I don't have enough going on, I also do a fair amount of other content and then keynote speaking as well.
yes, and plug that you are keynoting the Rise Leadership Summit this upcoming June. So if you're not already registered, check that out. So you've had an interesting career path, actually, but a successful one. And so if you could share maybe some approach that you've used for personal or professional development that's really worked for you.
Yeah. So I'm going to cheat and I'm going to give you two, but they kind of go hand in hand. So I would say the first thing that I attribute most of my success to is saying yes when opportunities that scare the crap out of me come forward. And so that's typically like my sign if it's something, if like my brain is like, oh, like, I don't know if you could do that, or like, you sure you can handle that? Like, you want to go down that path? When I start to have those kinds of thoughts, that's usually like a signal to me now that I've like listened to it enough times to recognize that it's probably an opportunity that I'm going to really regret not taking if I don't figure out how to get there. And like I said, usually those opportunities scare the crap out of me because I don't feel like I have all of the skills that I might need to get to that point. And so the other part is kind of like recognizing that almost everybody in the world is faking it until they make it with something that they're trying in their life. And so like taking advantage of those opportunities and not being afraid to learn along the way while you're over, or like you're coming up against these new challenges or trying new things, because chances are the people that have been in your position before were doing the same thing and learning as they go. But I think we like to trick ourselves into thinking that people only take opportunities when they feel prepared for them, and that everybody else has like some secret handbook at their disposal that we just don't have a copy of. And so kind of like breaking down that thought process has been really, really helpful for me in my career.
That's great. I love that. Like whatever scares you, like, yes, I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
So if you were going to say that you have a superpower, what would you say it is?
I think it's making friends. And it's turned to be like when I was little, I was constantly getting things on my report card about the fact that like Emma won't stop talking. And I think in sixth grade social studies, I was telling someone about this. The amount of times that like me and my old social studies teacher, Mr. Kramer, had to eat lunch together because he could not put me somewhere in the class where I wouldn't talk. And I would get detention all the time because I couldn't stop talking. Like that has turned into a big superpower of mine because I like strictly look at people as people, regardless of like the title that they have or the role that they play in an organization or how I met them. And when a person is a person, there's probably something that you've got in common. So like figure out what that is and figure out how to make friends with them. And building relationships has been such an important part of my career, whether that was when I was like directly selling software to the point now where like it's building a community online and like building relationships through that interview series. All of those relationships have helped me so much that truly when I look at like where I shine. And actually my daughter for a long time told people that my job was interviewing people and making friends. And I was like, you are not wrong. That is where I'd like to be forever and always. So I would say that that's definitely like a strong suit of mine.
That is a great superpower. I love that. And we've talked about mentorship. You're familiar with the Rise mentorship program. Can you tell me how mentorship has played a role in your career? and how it might be important for others?
Yeah. So for me, I've been really fortunate to have a number of really strong mentors, both male and female. And I would say one of the like most helpful things for me in terms of interacting with my mentors, especially when they've been people that I directly work with, is being really clear on exactly like what I need from them. So when I say this, like say I'm in a company and like one of my bosses is one of my mentors and I need somebody to talk through a situation with me, I would always start the conversation of, I don't want you to do anything about this. I just need you to listen to me and help me work through what steps I need to take to solve this problem. Because I feel like oftentimes what I found happening early on in my career is I would like go to a mentor to like talk to them about a challenge I'd be having. And they'd be like, all right, here's what we're going to do. And they'd go into go mode as opposed to helping me work through how to solve those problems on my end and how to like approach personality dynamics or things that have like not popped up in my career before. And so I had actually a female mentor tell me that like typically as a woman, if you go in and you ask a male mentor for help, they'll go into solving mode because they don't recognize that you're just looking for guidance on how to approach it yourself or how to think about the problem differently. And so she coached me to ask for help differently. And once I started doing that, it helped me have like more valuable interactions with my mentors in terms of me building the skills as opposed to allowing other people to try and solve my problems for me.
That's excellent. I actually hadn't heard that before, so that's a really good approach. I love that.
And it works really well with your husband too. If you just need to vent about something, be like, I don't need you to do anything. I don't want you to say it. Like, just listen for a minute.
Yeah, definitely. So what kind of advice would you give other women who are aspiring to similar heights? Maybe they want to start their own thing, or they just want to progress in their career.
So I give this advice all the time. And it's kind of tied a little bit back to like that idea at the beginning of like recognizing that not everybody else has everything figured out. But the biggest advice that I give is to like talk to yourself internally the way that you would talk to your best friend. And that doesn't mean like blind optimism or like, delusional thoughts. Like some people will tell you to like be as delusional as you want, manifest it. But more like be pragmatic with yourself, give yourself advice the same way that you would, or like hold yourself accountable the same way that you would with your best friend. But reprogramming your thoughts to speak to yourself the way you would speak to a close friend is such a powerful way of getting you out of like bad thought patterns or things that limit you or things that would keep you from saying hell yes to something that scares you. And like when you come up against those challenges or those things that are happening that might be levels for you to or moments for you to level up, if you can stop and think about like, okay, if I were not myself and I were talking to myself and I was like, oh my gosh, look at this opportunity, I would probably say, go get it. But my head's telling me not to. So like trying to change that like internal voice to focus on talking to yourself the way that you would other people you're trying to build up. Certainly not perfect. My brain is not always nice to me. And like my thoughts aren't always great in terms of like the way I'm speaking to myself. But whenever I can catch myself doing that, if I can change the way I'm speaking to myself, it typically has really big impact in the way that I show up in the world.
That's excellent advice. Thank you for sharing that. I think I want like a little Emma in my head.
Well, I'm here anytime you need me, Amy.
Well, thank you so much for jumping on. Really appreciated you taking the time today.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and for everyone watching, follow Rise Professionals for more Women's History Month interviews, finding and introducing you to exceptional women in insurance.